Thank you very much. So, hi everyone. Welcome to this webinar. We're happy that you've joined us. Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon from where you're joining us from. So, in today's webinar, we'll take a look at enhancing your Azure file deployments through Logic Apps. So, believe this is a very important topic to enhance your Azure file performance and also be able to truly get the best value from it. My name is Andrew Mathu. Like I was introduced, I'm a member of the Azure Network Security Customer Experience Engineering team. I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya. I'll be joined by my colleague Shabaz Shaik, who is based in India, Bengaluru. So this is just us and our backgrounds to put the faces to the names. For our agenda, we're going to have a look at an overview of Azure Firewall and its capabilities, specifically the two Azure Firewall SKUs, that is standard and premium. And then we'll deep dive into enhancing those firewall deployments using Logic Apps. So three of them are based on IDPS signature updates notification. So you can be able to get emails when your IDPS signatures are updated. We'll take a look at Office 365 rules updates and also how you can do file backups and also restore. And also there's a demo just to show you how all of this works. Please feel free to give us feedback through this link, which will also be pasted in our chat. So to begin us off on this first section, we'll go through an overview of Azure Firewall just to set the background before we go to the actual enhancements. So to begin us off, the first firewall SKU that we have is called Azure Firewall Standard. So Azure Firewall, this is a cloud native firewall within Azure. And within Standard, you get these features, threat intelligence, which is able to identify, alert, and deny traffic from known malicious IP addresses and domains. These domains and IP addresses are sourced from Microsoft Threat Intelligence. And then threat intelligence, of course, takes precedence over the NAT rules, network rules, or application rules if you have them within your policy rule set. Standard also supports DNS. This comes with custom DNS. So this means you can use your corporate DNS within Azure Firewall to be able to resolve internal and external IP addresses, external names, FQDNs. And also with DNS proxy enabled, can be able to process and forward DNS queries from your virtual networks. Standard also supports inbound DNAT support, rather inbound DNAT, and also supports outbound SNAT support. With Standard, you also have network and application filtering rules. So the network traffic filtering rules can be able to filter traffic based on the source IP addresses, destination IP addresses, and also based on the ports. And also have the application rules where you can be able to do the same filter based on FQDNs. With Standard, you also have web categorization, although this is limited to only the FQDN. So with this one, you're not able to match the entire URL, which is supported in Premium. So when it comes to Azure Firewall Premium, so this is an enhancement to Standard with more features for security, especially in highly regulated environments where they require deeper inspection. So it supports TLS inspection, and this is for outbound and also east-west traffic. You can have inbound TLS supported when you have application gateway in front of that Azure Firewall Premium. And this, of course, can be able to do enable TLS inspection using Azure Key Vault. We also have intrusion detection prevention, our IDPS. So this detects or alerts and blocks inbound, outbound malicious traffic. We support encrypted and also plain text protocols, and this is based on signatures. So we'll see a bit more in the next section, like we saw how you're able to get notifications when these signatures are updated. Azure Firewall Premium also supports URL filtering. So you're able to restrict user access to HTTP and HTTPS web content, and also support URL wildcards. When it comes to web categorization, we're able to allow or deny access to website categories such as gambling, news, social media, and others. So this is extremely useful if you want to limit users going to specific websites that you want to restrict or to allow. These are updated and continuously maintained. And then it also supports URL-based category matching. And then, of course, Azure Firewall Premium has all the standard firewall capabilities. So with that overview of these two SKUs for the Azure Firewall, we'll go to the next section, which is how do you enhance this Azure Firewall deployments? How do you make sure or ensure that your firewall is being used to its maximum capabilities? So we do that. We have done that through 3 logic apps, and you can also check out their deployment, the implementation within our community. So we have the Azure Network Security blog space where we publish our blogs, and we have detailed how you are able to deploy and use these logic apps. So the first logic app is for IDPS signature updates notification, and you can also see its designer there, the designer within this particular logic app. So with this particular enhancement, what you want to do is for the end user or for the administrator of that firewall to be getting notifications whenever they receive an IDPS update. So like I mentioned, the IDPS, this is the one that enables you to block, also to alert on malicious traffic. It's based on signatures, and we have over 50 categories of the signatures with over 58,000 rules. So a big ask from our customers has been, how do I know when I have a new update that has come in? And these updates are continuously coming in daily so as to enhance the security. So this logic app, you're actually able to get that notification that my IDPS signature rules have been updated, and you can see the actual signatures that have been added. For the second enhancement, based on the logic app for Office 365, so this is to allow Office 365 traffic through the Azure Firewall. So with this, you're able to get updates and also to add specific Office 365 rules to your network and also to application rules. So this one enables you to quickly, efficiently automate this process. And of course, you're able to get new updates for the Office 365 endpoints whenever they come in. So this easily allows you to be able to control and also to see the updates for Office 365. And finally, we have the enhancement for file backups. So as we know, a backup is extremely important for business continuity to allow you to, in case there's an issue, you're able to quickly recover and there's no impact to your business. So with this last enhancement, you're able to carry out file backups. You're able to get that backup, and in case there's an issue, you can do a recovery. So this makes it extremely important for the organization, for the business. And as you can see here, we have the designers for each of these 3 logic apps. So with that introduction, for these enhancements, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Shabaz, who's going to take us through the next section with a demo and dig deeper into how these logic apps work. Shabaz, over to you.
Hey, Andrew, thank you so much for the introduction and setting the ground here for the demo. Let me share my screen. I hope everyone is able to see my screen.
All good.
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you for that. Hello everyone, this is Shabaz. I'm a program manager in the Azure Network Security Customer Experience Engineering team. Today I'll be talking about all the logic app solutions that Andrew mentioned. We will go through each one of them, how they will be benefiting us, and we will try to do a demo on those logic apps. So to start with, the first logic app we have in the list is the logic app for IDPS signature updates notification. So like Andrew mentioned, the purpose of this logic app is, we have had a lot of requests from the customers where they want to be on top of IDPS signature updates. They wanted to get notified about that. They wanted to see what signatures were getting updated every now and then. So we wanted to provide a solution for that. So with this logic app, we can achieve the same. This logic app will help us in sending an email notification to whoever is wanting to get notified on the signature updates. So when we look at the deployment of this logic app, basically we have already published a blog around this topic, and this is available in our Microsoft Tech Community blog post. This is the link here, and my colleague Andrew will paste the link in the chat as well. So if we go through this blog, it will have detailed information on how to deploy the solution. And basically what it is talking through is we have a single, click deployment button. So that by using that deployment button, we can get this solution deployed within a matter of minutes. And when we are actually doing that, we have to provide a few inputs. Those are listed here. So basically, the deployment will ask for details like sender address, recipient address, subscription ID, resource group name, and policy name. So basically, if you have a firewall policy, we need to give the firewall policy details, where it is present, as in which resource group it is present in, and what is the subscription ID that's related to it. And on top of that, who is wanting to get notified. So that's the recipient address. And for the sender address part, you just need to provide the email account that is actually sending the notification. So moving on to the next slide, this is just an example of how the notification will look like. So as we can see, we will get a brief description of what the signature is, and what is the detailed, the detailed information on that signature, and then what group it belongs to, and when was it updated, and all of that. So we will get these details, and with the help of these details, we can keep track of those signatures, and if at all we want to have more detailed information, we can go to the signature and enable or disable that as well. So let's try to do a demo here. Okay, so this is the Azure portal we have, and this is the resource group where we have deployed the solution already. Once you deploy the solution, what we get is, we already have a firewall policy here, but with the solution, we will get the IDPS rules notification logic app itself, and we will also get a API connection with this. So this API connection is basically letting us, grant the access to the account which is going to send the email notification. So every API connection we have in this logic apps, basically we have to go to the edit API connection section here and authorize that API connection. So if we see, we get the email ID, which is the sender email ID. We have to put that there and authorize it. I have already authorized this, so I don't want to do it again. So going back to the resource group and looking at the logic app itself, if I click on this logic app and go to the designer, as we can see, the flow that was previously shown by Andrew in the previous slides. So basically, the important things that we need to look here is the recurrence. So recurrence is basically what is the frequency with which we want to run this particular flow. So we have provided interval as 5 days. So basically, this flow will run every 5 days. And there is another attribute here, which is get pass time. So this attribute specifies for how many days we want this data for. For example, if you want the data or the signature update details for the last 5 days, then we would need to put it here. So in this particular scenario, what we are doing here is this flow will run for every 5 days, and then it will collect the data from the last 5 days. So that is what it is going to do. And all of this initialized variable part, we have already provided it during the deployment, and it will pick up all those details from there. And finally, it will be sending us an email with the detailed information. So let's try to run this logic app and see how we get the notification here. So if I go to the run trigger command here, and if I run it, it'll take a few seconds. And if I go to the overview part of it, as we can see, this particular flow has run successfully at this 8:51 p.m. local time here. So let's see whether we got an update about the the signature updates on Firewall Premium. So let me go to my Outlook and open up that email. All right, so as we can see, I just got this email 29/9, 8:51 p.m. local time. And like I showed you before, this has all the details of the signature ID, description, what group, and severity last updated. So as we can see, there are a lot of signatures that got updated. And by actually following this email, we'll get more information on all the signatures that are being updated on it on a regular basis, whatever frequency that we want to set to. So that's the demo for the first logic app. So moving on to the next logic app, which is logic app for Office 365 rules update. So when we look at the purpose of this particular logic app, basically like Andrew mentioned, we need to update firewall rules for Office 365 endpoints, like because the Office 365 endpoint IPs, they change in a very dynamic manner, and we have to go through the firewall rules again and again and update them. And it will become a cumbersome task over the period of time, and we can't follow up with it. So having an automated solution to provide this particular task to be done without any manual intervention, we needed to create this logic app. So basically, when we look at the deployment here, this is again, we have a blog published related to this topic, which has detailed information on how to actually deploy the solution, what results this solution is going to give us. And also there is a single click deployment button as well in the blog, so which we can use, and we can directly get this deployed in a matter of minutes again. So during the deployment, what do we have to provide? So basically it's asking for a few details like playbook name. So basically this is the name of the logic app, whatever we want to give the name as. And then it will create an automation account. We need to give a name for that as well. And also there is a username. So we need to provide the email address here, which will send us the notifications when this flow is finished. And there is a recipient address, subscription ID, resource group name, and the firewall policy name, which we are actually running this on, and then the policies queue. So these are pretty straightforward inputs that it is asking for. And once we provide this, we will be able to easily get this deployed without any problem there. And then once we run this logic app, we will be able to see these type of rule collection group will be created on our existing policy. So just to make a note on that, if we have any existing rules that are already present on our firewall policy, when we run this logic app, it will add the extra rule collection group, which says Office 365 rule collection group, which will have around 85 rules, and it changes over time. So let's try to do a demo on this one as well. So this is the resource group for the Office 365 demo, where we have already deployed the solution. And out of the deployment, we get a few API connections and we will have a runbook and an automation account as well. So we need to go to each of these API connections and authorize those APIs accordingly. For example, if I go to this ARM API connection and go to the edit API connection section here, we will just need to provide the account through which we are actually running this logic app. So this is my account and ID, and we have to authorize it. I've already authorized it. And similarly, for the remaining two API connection, we have to do the same. And in specific to this logic app here, if we go to this logic app resource and check the logic app designer, again, there are a few things that we need to take a look at here. This is the recurrence part. So we have currently put the recurrence as 2 days. So this logic app will run on itself, 2 weeks. It will run on itself every 2 weeks. So basically these endpoint IPs, they get updated every month. So we have a 2-week interval time, then we will be on top of the updates. And then if we look at the remaining steps here, there is initialized variable for subscription ID, resource group name, firewall policy name, firewall queue, and everything. We just have to provide those during the deployment. This flow will automatically take those from that. And after that, it will pull the endpoints data from Office 365 endpoint site, which is present here. So this is the endpoint site, which is from Microsoft, and we can see that there are a lot of endpoints with specific port details, IP addresses, and everything. So that's where we are picking all these details from. So going back to this logic app, once the firewall policy is updated, it will also send us an email notifying us that the rules have been added for the Office 365 endpoints. So let's go to the overview section here and try to run this. Oh, okay, before running this, let's check the firewall policy we have. So this is the Office 365 webinar firewall policy that we have created for demonstrating it. So if we go to the rule collection section, as we can see, there are currently 2 rule collection groups and 2 rule collection. One is the network rule collection and one application rule collection. So basically, we have 2 rules there, and there is no section for Office 365 rules. So what we are expecting is after running this particular logic app, we should see a rule collection group specifically for the Office 365 endpoints, like I showed in the slide. So let's go back to the resource group and open this logic app. And let's try to run the trigger. Okay, so the logic app is currently running. As we can see here, the average duration for this logic app is taking around 49, 40, 50 seconds. That's because it has to create a lot of rules and it is a time consuming task here. And let's wait for this to be completed. It is still running. Let's give it a few more seconds. All right, so looks like the flow got completed successfully. And as we can see, it took around 52 seconds. So now we need to verify the firewall policy that we were looking at before. So let's go to the firewall policy again. So this is the firewall policy that we were looking at. We open it, go to the rule collection section. There you go. So apart from the existing rules, we have appended the rule collection for the Office 365 endpoints, which has around 83 rules now. Out of those, 15 are the network rules, and the 68 are the application rules. So let's take a look at those rules directly going to this network rules section. So as we can see, there are all these rules that are created by the logic app. And it has all the related IPs to specific service. For example, Exchange Online, Skype for Business, and everything. And similarly, in the application rules section, we have around I think 83 rules. We have all of these rules created here, different for different services on ports 80 and 443. So that's the demo for the Office 365 Logic app, and I hope this was useful. Let's move on to the next Logic app, which is the Firewall Backup Logic app. All right, so when we look at the purpose of this Logic app, as we all know, having a backup of the firewall policy and the firewall configuration is really important for any firewall deployment. For serving the disaster recovery purposes, or for just keeping track of our policies, and even if we want to go back to a certain policy of certain time, then we can do that as well. So it's really important to have a backup of the firewall policy, and that's what we are trying to achieve through this last Logic app that we are going to talk about. So when we talk about the deployment for this, again, there is a blog related to this particular topic, and it has a detailed explanation on how to deploy this, and also has a single click deployment button. And once we try to deploy it, it will ask for a few details, like as we have been seeing here, like the playbook name. We just give a name to the Logic app. There will be a storage account created as part of this, and that's for storing the backups that we get through this Logic app. And there is, we just need to provide the firewall name on which we are running the backup. Similarly, firewall policy name, subscription ID, and resource group name. I think this is pretty straightforward here. Moving on to the next slide. So once we have run the flow for the run the Logic app for firewall backups, it will create backup and store it in the storage account. In the containers section, we'll be able to see all these backups. And as we can see, these are chronologically ordered, and we can go back to any backup from the past. So let's try to do a demo on this one as well. All right, so this is the resource group where we have deployed this Logic app solution. And as part of the deployment, we have got an API connection, Logic app, storage account. And by default, we also have created a firewall and firewall policy just to demonstrate the backup for this. So if we take a look at the Logic app itself, let's go to the Logic app. So this is the designer. And again, we want to define the recurrence for this. So many teams and organizations will like to have their backups at a different frequency. So we have just put it as 3 days. We can also have daily backups depending upon the needs of our environment. So once we set the interval, the Logic app will run itself depending upon this interval and take a backup and store it in the storage account. So again, there are some variables that we are initializing, and all of these variables will be picked up directly from the deployment, and we don't have to add anything here. So once we have these variables, it will take a backup and store it in the storage account, like I said, and at the last step here, that's what it is doing. And then we will also try to do a restore once we have the backup, so that we will completely demonstrate the purpose of this Logic app. So let's go back to the resource group. So let's take a look at the policy here. Okay, so this is the firewall policy that we will try to demonstrate the firewall backup with. If we go to the rules collection, and as we can see, there are 2 rules in the network rules section and 2 rules in the application rules section. And what we will try to do here is let's try to delete one of these. Yeah, I'm trying to delete one of the rule collection, which is the test app rule collection we have here. So by doing that, what we are trying to achieve is once we have deleted it, in fact, I wanted to take a backup of this before deleting it. Anyhow, that is fine. We'll try another delete and we'll see how it goes. So this will take a bit of time. Meanwhile, let's go back to the resource group. So while restoring the policy on the firewall, it will also ask for a couple of details like firewall public IP and firewall VNet as well. So we would need to have inputs ready for that, and where we can get those inputs are if we go to the firewall itself, and if we go to the public IP section here and look at the JSON view, we can take the resource ID from here. That is the resource ID for the public IP that is associated with this firewall. Similarly, if we go back to the resource group again and go to the firewall, and in the VNet section, we go to the VNet and look at the JSON view, it will give us the resource ID here again. So we can copy this and keep it handy while restoring it, but we'll get to that shortly. I'm still waiting on this particular delete operation to happen. All right, as we see here, the delete operation ran successfully. So let me go back to the policy. And if I go to the rule collections, so there are no rules right now in the application rules section. So, what I wanted to do was take a backup of this policy and then restore it. So let's try to run the logic app. So let's go to the resource group. And if we take a look at this logic app and go to the overview section, and let's try to run this. Okay, it's currently running. All right, looks like the logic app ran successfully. Let's go to the resource group and try to check the storage account. So if we go to the storage account and click on containers and look at the backups, and it will just say that we do not have permission. We just need to click on the switch to access key. Once we do that, we'll be able to see all the backups that are available. So here, as we can see, all the backups, like I showed in the previous slide, they're listed in the chronological order. We have a backup that we recently collected just now, and that's stored here. We can go to this particular backup and download it. So before downloading that, let me try and run something. So if I go back to the firewall policy, and since I have taken the policy backup now, let's try to delete everything on this rule collections. So I'm trying to delete one more rule collection here because we have the backup of this. So that's running there. So now let's go to the storage account again. And going to the containers. And in the backup section, there you go. This is the backup that we took today. And we can directly download it here. So if we click on download, as we can see, we are able to download the backup here, and it will be here as shown. We can actually try to change it to the JSON format. So I'm just renaming the file name here. So I'm changing the file name and format to .json. So if we take a look at it, so this has all the details about the firewall config, policy, and everything. This is the file that got created from the Logic app. So let's try to restore this and see what results we get. So this operation is still running. Let's wait for this operation to get completed. Still taking a few more seconds. Let's wait for that to get completed. Okay, it successfully deleted the rule collection as well. All right. So let's go to the firewall policy. So in the firewall policy itself, as we can see, there are 0 rules now, since we deleted everything. Now what we can try is we can try to restore the policy from the backup we have. So let's try to see what backups we have. So if we go to the storage account, and like I showed you before, in the backups, we have all of these backups. So this is the one that we just took now. And we have a backup from yesterday as well. We were trying to back it up. But now let's try to restore it here from this recent backup. So this recent backup will restore at least one rule collection that we just deleted. So let's try that out. If I go to the Cloud Shell here, give it a moment to get connected. Okay. So if we go to upload, download files, so manage file share. So this was the backup from yesterday. Let's delete that to avoid confusion and upload the recent backup that we have. So going to the files, this is the recent backup we have. So I'm uploading it to our Cloud Shell, Cloud Drive. Okay, upload completed. So now let's try to see if we can see it in the CLI here. So, right. All right, so if we look at the list of files that are present in this directory, we can see the uploaded file here. Now we need to run a restore command. So basically, we need to copy this file name with which we are restoring. And let's paste the command that helps us restore. So basically, this command has new Azure Resource Group deployment, which will ask for the firewall name that we are actually restoring to, and the resource group name, which is where the firewall is present, and the template file, the file that actually has the backup. So we have given all the details, and I'm running this command now. So like I said, it will ask for two details like the firewall public IP and also firewall VNet while we are trying to restore it. Let me give those details like I showed you before. Okay, so for example, apparently this didn't take the command properly. So let me try to give it again. I'm going back to the cloud drive and checking for the backup file and running that command again. Okay, it's asking for the public IP. This time I hope it takes it. Okay, some reason it's not taking it properly, but let's give it a try. Okay, we are actually getting an error. Okay, since the previous command is still running, it has ran into an error. But basically, what it will do is once we run these two commands, it will try to restore the policy, and we will have the policy back. I don't want to run consecutive commands here because it is giving an error, but that is the gist of it. Uh, so if we go back to the blog here, to the backup Azure Firewall. So this is the blog that I was referencing to. And in this particular blog, we have all the detailed explanation and how this will work. And we are actually at this step, we are giving these public IP and firewall VNet inputs. After that, the restore command will try to restore everything, the policy and the firewall. Just to give a note on that, it will, even if we have deleted the firewall and also the firewall policy, it will restore it as well. But right now, we just tried to delete a couple of rule collections. But since we are having error with the command itself here, I want to give it one last try. I think that actually the previous error we were getting, that's because of the screen size. It wasn't taking the inputs there. Okay, so apparently it's still running the previous one. We are running out of time here, so meanwhile it is running. If it is running, we have any questions that we need to answer, we can cover that.
Yeah, sure. We do have a few questions. First is, how does firewall support SSL/TLS decryption?
How does firewall support SSL TLS description? As in, we need to have the firewall premium subscription for that, and we need to manage the certificate as well. So basically, whenever a client is trying to connect, then the firewall will present its certificate and intercept the traffic that's coming to it. And then after that, it will apply all the IDPS signatures and inspection there, and then it will send the traffic to the web server or whichever the server is that is hosting the application.
Great, thank you. The next one we have is, does Azure Firewall replace the need for network level firewalls, or is it strictly a WAF?
Azure Firewall, can you repeat that question again? Sorry.
Yeah, does Azure Firewall replace the need for network level firewalls, or is it strictly a WAF?
No, Azure Firewall is actually a network level firewall. So it's not a WAF basically. So we have another WAF service from Azure. We need to install that for protecting our web applications.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. The next one we have is, why not restore from Azure Storage directly?
We can do that. We actually have a script to do it. The runbook is there. We can directly do it. The purpose of using the logic app here is to automate that without any manual intervention.
Great, thank you. The next one we have is, how are signature IDs retrieved in logic app configuration? Which ones have been added and how often?
There is a signature ID to each of the IDPS signature. So whichever signatures were recently updated, it will be retrieved depending upon the date that is modified.
Great, thank you. And then we have a two-parter here. First is, can network traffic to Azure D365 resources provisioned using LCS be secured using Azure Firewall?
Sorry, I didn't get that question. Can you repeat it, please?
Yeah, can network traffic to Azure D365 resources provisioned using LCS be secured using Azure Firewall?
I'm not sure on the LCS part, but we can follow up on this question once we have this question on the form links that we have given.
Okay, great. That is all the questions that we have. Everything else has been answered. Oh, we do have two that just came in. Does TLS interception support client certificates too?
I think it does, but Andrew, do you have more input on that?
I don't know if there is any clarification to that, because the certificate that you put into the T Vault is actually an intermediate certificate. That's now the one that Azure Firewall uses to do the TLS inspection. So it's going to receive the traffic, present itself, decrypt the traffic, inspect it with the IDPS, and then re-encrypt it. So in essence, we use an intermediate certificate within the Key Vault. So you can create one within the TLS inspection settings of the Azure Firewall, or you can actually import one into Key Vault.
Great, thank you. Shabaz, did you want to proceed with the demo or?
Yes, yeah. So
okay.
Let's it is apparently running now. So let's give it 3-4 minutes till the end of this webinar. We'll see if we can we'll be able to restore it. We don't have any other questions.
We do have one that just came in. It says, is it a replacement of Palo Alto?
Yes, Azure Firewall is basically the network firewall can definitely replace Palo Alto.
Great. I can ask a few others that have been answered. Let's see here. Do you have a logic app example for removing rules that are no longer needed, or just a script to add rules?
We do not currently have that, but we can modify the logic app accordingly as per our needs. We can remove it, we can add new rules, and go from there.
This was for the Office 365 group rules, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are modifying the current rule collection group. We're updating it with the new rules that we gathered from the Office 365 endpoints. So if there's any endpoints that are no longer relevant, those would be updated. But we're not removing any other rules outside of the Office 365 rules.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I just want to take back the 2 minutes. As we can see here, this particular operation has been succeeded. So the firewall restore is completed, is what I believe. Let's go back to our resource groups. Okay, I'm going back to the firewall policy. And in the rule collection. Yeah, there you go. We previously deleted all the rules from here, but then we took a backup and we had 2 rules when we were doing the backup. Now, since the restore got completed, we have those 2 rules back up here in the policy. So we completed the restore successfully. So that concludes the demo for this, and I hope this was very much informational.
Great. Well, I'd like to thank you, Shabaz and Andrew, for being our guests today and for an excellent presentation. And thank you to the rest of the team who helped answer questions. At the same time, I would like to remind the listeners that the best way to ensure you don't miss any future webinars or major announcements is to visit our landing page at aka.ms/securitycommunity. And while there, you'll find easy ways to navigate and find the resources and learning content relevant to our security products and their communities. A good start would be browsing our bite-sized product videos, ninja trainings, recordings of past webinars, GitHub communities, and more. We'd love to hear your feedback on how we can improve these webinars. Please take a minute submitting your webinar feedback at aka.ms/AzureNetSecFeedback. Thank you, and see you next time. Goodbye.